All right, so are you ready to like take your dog training like way further? I mean, with some serious brain boosting games. Like when I saw this research on these advanced techniques, I was blown away. Like it turns out that most of us have only just begun to tap into like what the dogs can actually learn.
It's really true. And it's so fascinating how much we focus on their physical exercise, for our dogs, but uh, mental stimulation is like just as important for how they're doing overall.
Yeah, absolutely. You always hear like a tired dog is a good dog, but you know what? A mentally stimulated dog, like that's a truly happy dog and like engaged, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And that's where these advanced games, that's where they come in. They're meant to really challenge your dog, like in ways that go, beyond just basic obedience.
Okay, so let's get into it. The first one that really stood out to me was like a really amped up version of the shell game.
Yeah,
We all know the basic one, right? Like you hide the treat under a cup and they got to find it. But this one has like a twist.
right. This version really makes them use their working memory. So it's not just one cup. You use three. You hide treats under two of them. You let your dog find the first treat. But here's the thing. As soon as they do, you shuffle the cups around.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now they really have to remember where the treat could be. Like even after you move the cup. That's smart.
Yeah, it is. It really makes them think differently than just the basic game. And if you want to make it even harder, try using cups that has different scents.
Ooh, I like that. So then they got to like, figure out the smell of the treat from the smell of the cup itself. It's like another puzzle on top of the memory thing.
Exactly. It adds another whole level of complexity and really keeps them on their toes.
That's so cool. Okay, so what else can we do to like really challenge them? You mentioned something about building a vocabulary for your dog with the name game.
Yes. This one's all about teaching your dogs to connect words to specific objects. So you start with two toys, like a rope and a ball.
Okay, I've done that with my dog. He knows rope and ball. What makes this one advanced?
The twist is it's all about the order you do things. Once your dog is good at getting the right toy, you add a third toy, then a fourth. But then instead of just asking for one toy, you ask for them in order, like ball, then rope, stuff like that.
Whoa. So now it's not just names. Now they're like understanding order and sequence. That's amazing.
It is, and studies have shown that dogs can learn over 100 words, which, I mean, that really changes how we see how smart dogs are.
That's what's so cool about all this. Like it makes you realize how much they can, learn and how much their brains can develop.
Absolutely. And the more we challenge them, the more we see what they're, capable of.
Okay, let's keep going. I'm really curious about this puzzle box challenge. It seems like a really good way to get their like problem solving going.
It is. So basically, you make this puzzle box, out of a cardboard box, and it has a bunch of different compartments. But here's what's really interesting. You don't just like randomly put treats in there. You make a sequence, like specific compartments, and you mark them with different symbols.
Oh, okay. So they gotta like connect the symbol to the tree. Do you start with like complex symbols right away?
No, no, you got to start simple, easy symbols like a big X or a circle. And then as they get better at it, you can, make the symbols more challenging. You make the treats harder to get to.
Yeah, I can already imagine my dog like totally focused on, figuring this out. And I love the idea of starting simple and getting more difficult. It's like building a mental workout.
Exactly. And it's honestly incredible how quickly they can get it. Some dogs have even learned to recognize like basic shapes and patterns just from this game.
Now that's impressive. It really shows you what they can learn, how they adapt. Okay, what's next on our brain boosting list? I see the mirror game. This one sounds really unique.
This is a good one. It helps develop special awareness and visual processing. So you put your dog in front of a big mirror and you stand behind them and then you start making different movements. The key is you reward your dog when they follow the commands of your reflection.
Wait, so they're not watching you, they're watching your reflection. That's crazy. How do they even get that?
That's part of what's so interesting about it. It challenges how they understand space, and it forces them to process what they see in a totally new way. It's like they're learning to interpret a whole reversed world, and it really shows how they can adapt and learn from unexpected things.
I am honestly blown away. And there's an even more advanced version of this, right? Something about silent commands.
Yeah, you got it. Once they get the hang of the basic one, you can start giving them commands, but just using hand signals in the mirror and no words. This takes their visual processing to a whole other level because now they really got to focus on those small cues and figure out what you mean without you saying anything.
Wow, that's like next level stuff. Okay, I'm ready for the last game. Tell me about the memory circuit. This one sounds like it's both physical and mental.
Yeah, it is. You create a circuit in your house or yard, with like maybe 5 or 6 stations. And each station, they learn a specific task. It could be anything. Like spit at station 1, sit at station 2, lie down at station 3, you name it.
Okay, so I'm picturing like a little obstacle course, but there's like a mental side to it too.
Right. So once they have all the stations memorized and they know what to do at each one, you start mixing it up. You ask them to do the stations in a different order. And this really makes them use their memory, you know, and how well they know the commands and their ability to think sequentially.
So it's like a full workout, both mental and physical. I bet my dog would have so much fun with this. And it's like a great way to tire them out in both ways.
Exactly. And it's really important to remember that these games, they're not just for fun, they're actually designed to challenge them in a scientific way. They're meant to develop different parts of how your brain works.
Right, so it's like actual brain training, not just playing game.
Exactly. And these games, they target skills like problem solving, working memory, pattern recognition, spatial awareness, and sequential thinking, all of which are really helpful for them in real life.
So it's like you're building a mental gym for your dog, and the more they train, the stronger those mental muscles get, which makes me think, if these games can do so much for our dogs, like, what if we did the same for ourselves?
That's a really great point. We'll get into that a bit more later. But first, let's talk about how those skills, how they actually help your dog in their everyday life.
It's like, it's amazing to me that by like just playing these games, we can actually make our dogs' brains like stronger. But how does that like translate to the real world? I mean, like, aside from being able to do cool tricks, how does it make their lives better?
That's a really good question. These skills actually have a direct impact on how they're doing, overall, and how they deal with like everything around them. For example, problem solving. A dog that's really good at problem solving will be much better at handling, new situations, unexpected things. They can like check out the situation, think about their options, and then find a solution.
So it's more than tricks. It's like giving them the mental tools to like figure things out in their environment and adapt when things change.
Exactly. Think about a dog that gets like anxious in new places. If you can make their problem-solving skills better, you're basically giving them a way to figure things out on their own, which can help with their anxiety and help them feel more comfortable.
That makes a lot of sense. What about working memory? How does that like play out in their everyday lives?
Working memory is really important for learning and following commands. The better their working memory, the easier it is for them to remember what you've taught them and to respond, consistently to your cues.
So it makes like training go a lot smoother and more effective.
Exactly. And it also makes them more reliable, day to day. They're less likely to forget commands like stay or come when it's really important.
Okay, so that's a big plus for any dog owner. And pattern recognition. I'm curious how that skill, I mean, beyond the puzzle boxes, how does it help them?
Pattern recognition is really cool because it lets them, make sense of their world and kind of predict what might happen next. They start to see like patterns in their daily routines and they can kind of figure out what's coming next.
So like if they hear the jingle of the leash, they know it's walk time.
Exactly. Or, if they see you picking up their food bowl, they know it's dinner time. It helps them feel more secure, less anxious because they understand how things work.
It's almost like they build these mental maps of their world and their routines. It's so interesting to me. Okay, so what about spatial awareness? We were talking about how the mirror game developed that, but beyond the reflections, how does that help them every day?
Spatial awareness is it's essential for navigating their environment safely, It helps them understand like where their body is and how to move around without, bumping into things or tripping or getting stuck.
So if my dog, like if he have good spatial awareness, he's less likely to like knock stuff over with his tail or run into the furniture.
Yeah. And they'll be, more agile and coordinated. Think about how much easier your walks will be when they have a better sense of where they are, No more getting tangled up in the leash or bumping into things.
That's a good point. And last, what about sequential thinking? We talked about it with the memory circuit, but I wonder how that helps them day to day.
Sequential thinking is all about understanding the order of things, which is important for so much. It helps them learn, more complex commands, follow multi-step instructions, even just like understanding their daily routines.
So it's not just knowing what to do, but when to do it.
Exactly. For example, like if you have a routine for leaving the house, a dog with good sequential thinking skills, they'll be able to anticipate each step and act accordingly. They'll know that, you putting on your shoes comes before the leash, which comes before going out the door. Makes everything much smoother.
I love that. It's like they become your little helper, keeping things on track.
Exactly. And the best part is all these games, they're not only good for our dogs, they're fun for us too. It's a great way to bond with them and learn how their minds work and see their personality come through.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. It's so rewarding to watch them figure things out and get through these challenges. You can tell like they feel proud of themselves, and it really makes your connection stronger.
It really shows how important it is to make sure their minds are stimulated, just as much as we focus on their physical exercise.
It's about giving them the tools to like live their best lives, right? Mentally and physically.
Exactly. It's about, helping their brains develop and giving them chances to learn and grow.
Okay, before we wrap up, I got to ask about that brain training for dogs program. You mentioned it earlier. You said it takes these ideas like even
Oh
further.
yeah, it does. It's a really in-depth program. It goes way beyond what we've talked about today. It's got tons of challenging games, step-by-step instructions, tips for when you get stuck, even insights into how dogs' brains develop.
It sounds like something every dog owner should have if you're serious about brain training.
I definitely recommend it. It's full of information and techniques that can, help your dog reach their full potential.
Okay, I'm convinced. I'm totally checking that out. This whole conversation it's been so eye-opening. We've learned about 5 incredible brain training games that can, boost our dogs' cognitive skills, make them feel better, and strengthen our bond with them. And we've even talked about like the bigger picture of mental stimulation and how important it is to challenge our own minds. So before we go to that final thought, is there anything else you want to add about the program?
I think it's important to mention that that the program it's designed for dogs of all ages and breeds. So it's never too early or too late to start brain training, and the benefits are amazing. It can help puppies, develop those essential cognitive skills, keep adult dogs sharp, and even slow down cognitive decline in older dogs.
That's so important. It really shows that, mental stimulation is just as crucial as physical exercise throughout their whole lives. And it makes me think about how we can apply these same ideas, to our own lives as well. It's kind of funny how much we can learn about ourselves from our dogs. And this whole deep dive has really made me think not just about training, but like about how we think about our own mental well-being.
Yeah, it really is. It really is fascinating, isn't it? We always talk about how dogs are like mirrors to our emotions, but I think they can also teach us, about how important it is to keep learning and keep our minds flexible throughout our lives.
Totally agree. And just like these games help them stay sharp and engage, it makes sense that finding new challenges and experiences would do the same for us.
Exactly, exactly. It's about like, pushing ourselves, getting out of our comfort zones, trying new things, just keeping our minds active.
Yeah, so it's not just crosswords and Sudoku. It's more like approaching life with curiosity, right? And being open to learning new things and growing.
Exactly. And, it really doesn't have to be complicated. It could be something as simple as like reading a book about something new, taking a cooking class, learning a new language.
Or even just taking a dog on a different walking route.
Yeah,
Anything that kind of shakes things up a bit, gets you thinking in new ways.
absolutely. The important thing is to find things you actually enjoy that challenge you in a good way.
And just like with our dogs, it's about celebrating those like little wins along the way. Each time you learn a new skill or have a new realization, like that's a win.
That's a great way to put it. It's those little moments of discovery and accomplishment. That's what keeps us, motivated and engaged.
I think the biggest takeaway for me today is that a mentally stimulated dog is a happy dog. And you know what? The same goes for us humans.
I completely agree. Completely agree. It's about taking care of our minds and really enjoying, lifelong learning.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into, this awesome world of brain training for dogs, let's all commit to challenging our dogs' minds and our own, right? Who knows what we might discover when we embrace learning and exploring.
I love that. Until next time, keep those tails wagging, those minds engaged, and never stop, exploring that incredible potential that's in both you and your furry friend. 1700.